For nearly a year, I harbored a deep suspicion that the small Mexican restaurant across the street from my apartment was a front for money laundering. These places are in every major city, small, unassuming establishments that you hardly ever see anyone going into. It could be a barber shop, a nail salon, but often they tend to be restaurants with generic names and uninviting exteriors. They don't seem to care about attracting customers because, well, they probably don't. I'm not suggesting that every place fitting this description is laundering money. There's no surefire way to know without putting yourself at risk. But for the longest time, I was convinced that this particular restaurant, a tiny building sandwiched between a sketchy pawn shop and a liquor store, was up to no good. The restaurant, Taste of Mexico, had a plain white sign with Taste of Mexico in yellow font, flanked by the cartoon sombreros. In the 11 months I had lived in my apartment, I could count the number of different people I saw going in there onto hands. Watching the place became a pseudo-hobby for me. It felt dangerous, like something I shouldn't be nosing into. In reality, it was more than 10 people, but still not a lot, maybe 30 to 40 different customers, mostly drunk young people late at night. Only a few seemed to be regulars. One was a tall, lanky guy in sunglasses and a suit, with tattoos covering his hands. He always went in around 10 or 11 p.m. on Thursdays and never stayed more than a few minutes, always leaving empty-handed. Another was the cook, a muscular man around 150 pounds, usually seen in a red-stained apron, smoking cigarettes outside at night. The strangest was a plain-looking guy in his early 20s, always in a green windbreaker and jeans. He went in almost daily, but I never saw him leave. I thought he must be using a back door. So, I set up an experiment with 2 video cameras, one on my windowsill facing the street and another hidden in a bush facing the back door of the restaurant. I left the cameras recording on a Friday morning and picked them up 24 hours later. To my relief, both cameras were still there and recording. I fast-forwarded through the footage. The guy in the green windbreaker went in at 2:45 p.m. On the footage from the bush, I watched for him to come out. He never did. At 9 p.m., he went back in through the front door without ever having left. The entrances were identical down to the smallest details, like the footage had been copied and pasted. I watched it 50 times, looking for any differences. There were none. Then, at 2 a.m., the cook came out the back door, threw some trash bags into the dumpster, and smoked a cigarette. I realized he was staring right at the camera. After finishing his cigarette, he retrieved a duffel bag from a car. Something inside it moved not like a human or animal, but something else. Before going back inside, he stood still for nearly 3 minutes, seemingly looking right at the camera. Despite the unnerving footage, my curiosity persisted. I decided to go inside the restaurant. I texted a friend, told him where I was going, and to send the cops if he didn't hear from me by midnight. I left my apartment at noon, crossed the street, and pushed open the door to the restaurant. Inside, it was similar to other Mexican restaurants, clean, well-maintained, almost empty except for an impatient man in a dress shirt and a young woman behind the bar. She seated me and gave me a menu. So far, nothing unusual. The man in the dress shirt was trying to get her attention, but she ignored him. Frustrated, he looked at me for validation. I shrugged. I couldn't smell any food, only a faint scent of ammonia. The woman disappeared through a door beside the bar, leaving it halfway open. It wasn't the kitchen. It was a set of stairs, dark and unlit. The man in the dress shirt, now angry and amused, used his phone as a flashlight and went down the stairs. I called after him, asking if it was a good idea. He shrugged it off, saying it would get crazy views, and continued down. Feeling paranoid, I backed away and looked around. The comforting vibe was gone. I felt watched. I saw the cook standing perfectly still in the dark bathroom, smiling. Terrified, I ran out of the restaurant, nearly tripping on the sidewalk. I paced my apartment, heart racing. I felt guilty about the man in the dress shirt, but wasn't going back or calling the cops. I watched the place, hoping to see the man come out. Instead, I saw him going back in, identical to before. I avoided the restaurant for days, using the back door to leave my building and changing my route home. I kept my curtains closed, ensuring I couldn't see it. But a week later, I sneaked a peek and saw the restaurant's sign was stripped, and it looked like it was being repainted for a new business. I felt relieved, thinking whatever was going on, I was safe from it. A few days later, I noticed the coffee shop attached to my apartment building had its sign stripped and was undergoing renovations. I didn't think much of it until I came back from work and saw what it was being replaced with the same generic sign, Taste of Mexico, in yellow font with cartoon sombreros. Panic set in. I realized they had moved. Now, they were right below my apartment. My heart raced as I considered the implications. They knew I had been inside their old location. I kept my curtains closed, stayed vigilant, and avoided the new restaurant. One evening, I heard noises from the street. Peeking out, I saw the cook and the guy in the green windbreaker entering the building's back entrance. I felt trapped. They were closer than ever. I debated calling the cops, but without concrete evidence, what could I say? Days passed, and I couldn't shake the paranoia. I heard footsteps in the hallway at odd hours, noticed unfamiliar faces lingering around the building. One night, I woke to the sound of my front door rattling. My heart pounded as I crept to the door, peering through the peephole. No one was there. The next day, I installed additional locks and a security camera inside my apartment. I sent the footage to my friend, explaining the situation. He urged me to move out, but I couldn't afford it. I decided to gather more evidence, setting up cameras around the building's entrances. The footage revealed disturbing patterns, people entering the new Taste of Mexico but never leaving, just like before. The same regulars, the same eerie behavior. My anxiety grew with each passing day. I knew too much, and they were getting closer. One night, I returned home to find my apartment door slightly ajar. Fear gripped me as I stepped inside, ready to call the cops, but nothing seemed out of place. My laptop was untouched, camera still recording. It was a warning. I packed a bag and left, crashing at a friend's place. I reported everything to the police, but without hard evidence, they couldn't do much. I decided to move out, breaking my lease and finding a new place across town. Even in my new apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I stayed vigilant, never lingering outside my building, keeping my routines unpredictable. The memory of the restaurant haunted me, a constant reminder of the dangers lurking in plain sight. Months later, I saw a news report about a raid on the old Taste of Mexico. It confirmed my suspicions of illegal activities, disappearances, and more. Relief washed over me, but so did a new fear. They were exposed, but what if they relocated again? What if they came for me? I changed my name, moved to a new city, and started over. The experience left me scarred, but I learned to trust my instincts. Some places hide dark secrets, and curiosity can lead to terrifying truths. It's a lesson I'll never forget. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more new stories.